Normal science, as it was coined by Kuhn, was always a little bit in a corner of, well, textbook knowledge is like a recipe that you can follow and it's so boring, it creates the same knowledge, but what does it mean in a methodological sense? It's really important to remember that after all, if you want to create knowledge, it's good to follow on a certain path, it's good to follow a certain procedure. But knowledge then tends to repeat itself in a sense after some time. This can be okay if you have really exciting theories that you want to test and where it takes a long time to try it out. Say the DNA model, or say modern physics, where we haven't settled on a theory yet. But then there's the question of the topical iteration. If you have exciting topics, yes, having a bold method doesn't really help us to tame it. So that's why it's important, again, to use established methods in order to push the envelope. But here comes the trouble. We know out of the whole backstory of post-colonialism and all the other trouble that we have coming out of the modern sciences that we need to decolonize our approaches, and that includes the methodological approach. So finding new ways to create knowledge and being critical about it is certainly something that should be close to our heart. Now another twist. The big gap that you have in terms of how you can learn to utilize methods in science is the difference between knowledge and experience. And this is a huge gap, because knowing something about some method can take you several hours or days, but gaining experience about applying a method takes several weeks or months, if not longer. And that includes then critical thinking, because you can a little bit have a bird's eye perspective on why we should be critical about certain methods, why we should decolonialize our knowledge, why we should find new ways towards new knowledge, novel approaches. But in order to know the gap, in order to know what knowledge we should be looking for, I would say you need to know the perimeter, you need to know the surrounding. So in other words, you need deep experience in empirical knowledge. Just flatly rejecting it won't move us forward, because our interest, mind you, ultimately is knowledge. Doesn't need to be empirical knowledge necessarily. Think of philosophy. Think of theoretical physics. There are many things that we can explore that go beyond that and transcend it. And this is the knowledge we will be looking for if we established a critical perspective also on many methodological approaches. But I would say we need a combination. You need to make sure that you gain experience about methods and you're critical about them, aware of the limitation of the biases, and also well beyond that, the societal consequences and where science fails as a whole. So all that builds on methodological experience, and that takes a long time. So I invite you to spend this time, please.